January 8th, 2015. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 63 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall. Sitting right next to me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So, Mike, did you win the $1 million?
I am not a millionaire in that respect.
Wow, that's too bad.
So, yeah.
But you were there for the drawing?
I was there for the drawing at Harrah's Southern California Resort.
It was New Year's Eve. They were giving away $1 million at 11 o'clock that night.
11 o'clock, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, it was funny. It wasn't as crowded as I thought it would be.
Really?
I thought it would be wall-to-wall people.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, standing room only kind of deal. It was pretty crowded, but, I don't know why I thought, this is going to be like crazy. Last year, you did not have to be present to win.
Yeah, I remember. That was a big deal,
and,
right?
So I can see why people stayed away, right? This year, you had to be present.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a zoo, but it wasn't. The funny thing is, they had to call 3 names before they got a winner.
Really? Because the people weren't there.
The first 2 people were not there. And the first was a man, and I found out later from my casino host that he's a real regular player, him and his wife, older couple, and for whatever reason, he must have gone home.
Well, older couple, because they weren't just giving away the $1 million at 11 o'clock. There were like giveaways every hour, right?
All day long.
So probably what happened was he, slid his card to
he was probably there in the morning.
Right. And then just went home early.
And then he probably didn't want to be there with, I don't blame people. The road is not the greatest to be driving on it,
on New Year's
Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't there. And then it was some other woman. She wasn't there. And finally, there was a third woman, and she was there.
Yeah.
And, she was happy to say the least. $1 million.
Nice. And did you win? At least did you win while you were there?
Won playing craps. Yeah,
good.
Just a little. It was a small win, but it was good. And so that's how 2014 ended, with a craps win.
Good.
But we went the Friday after New Year's.
Yeah.
After New Year's Day. So what was that, the 2nd?
Yeah, I was with you.
We had a big win.
Yeah.
We had a big craps win.
Well, you're on a nice streak all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And I don't think either one of us really believes in streaks or, you're hot now or anything like that. Right. But lately I have been hot. I'm on a streak. It was like I think last Friday was the 7th gambling session in a row where I've won.
Nice. Oh,
and
very good.
Some of them have been, substantial wins.
Good. Oh, yeah. This last one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So, I don't know we haven't done anything different.
Yeah.
It just seems like we've gotten lucky.
Yeah.
And we've been down. I remember the last 2 times we played, we've at one point been down, and then all of a sudden somebody has a monster roll.
Yeah. Do you think we talk about craps too much on this show? We talk a lot about it. We claim to be a gambling podcast. We do. That's just the game we play. Right. And a lot of times listeners have questions about craps.
Yeah. But we are versed in every single game.
Yeah. It's true.
We played every game.
Yeah. So, and plus, if we have time too, we're going to talk about a blackjack variation here too, coming up later in the episode.
That's good. Yeah. We probably should talk about other stuff. But the thing is we do play a lot of craps.
Yeah.
But if anyone does have questions or comments about other games, we pretty much played it all.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. We enjoy playing.
As a matter
of
fact, didn't one of the dealers a few weeks ago ask us, don't you guys ever play poker?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And we're like, yeah, we play poker, but we kind of prefer craps.
It's hard for me to play poker in a casino environment because all the casino games are so close.
Right.
Right. I play poker at home, it's a home game, and that's nice. But yeah, in a casino, plus, it's when you're playing poker, it's with people you don't know, and the social aspect is not as
in a casino. There's
a home game,
hardly any social aspect to poker, right? Yeah. Maybe you might say a word or two, but mostly you're quiet and you're concentrating, and it's just not fun. Now at craps, you and I are both playing, so to speak, against the casino. Yeah. So we can chat back and forth and we can talk to other people.
Yeah, right. And, you're not being secretive about anything.
Right. Yeah, we have nothing to hide.
I didn't see you place the 6 right there till the 6 came up. Wow.
I didn't want to tell you because I was hoping 6 would come and you wouldn't win. Although you do brag when you have a come bet and 11 comes out. Oh, because I don't play the come.
Yeah. I flaunt it.
You flaunt that in my face.
I always put it in your face. Yeah. So last episode, we were responding to a listener who was surprised that he was asked to leave the vicinity of a table because a high roller asked that he, move. Yeah. And we talked about how you can't do that in Las Vegas, or they can't make you move, I should say. If you want to watch somebody gamble, you have in Las Vegas, in Nevada, by law, you can just stand there and watch.
Right.
Well, our friend Ed posted a comment on Facebook about how he sees people being backed away from tables all the time in Atlantic City. He mentioned specifically the Borgata, where they just, you're going to have to move along and they make you leave. So
I guess in New Jersey, then the law must be that they can do that.
Yeah, I'm guessing, just based on some of the responses we're getting, that maybe Nevada is the only state where they cannot ask you to move away, from just because you're watching.
Right.
So
I don't know. I mean, I'd feel terrible if I was at a reserve table and I turned to the pit and said, "Oh, I don't like this guy watching. Get him out of here."
Well, that's you and me. Yeah. I mean, I know it's the same.
What would the guy watching have anything to do? I mean, unless you thought he was casing you to rob you later. Or
well, yeah,
right?
I guess.
And if he's doing that, he can do it from 20 feet away, right?
No, it's just people superstitious, or it's not even superstition. It's just some people aren't comfortable with that. Just being stared at. I mean, I can understand that, but yeah, I would never. This guy's you got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd probably I'd be the opposite. Let's get some people here. I need a better shooter than me.
That's right.
Right.
So on the last episode also, you talked about your trip to Las Vegas in early December. And last episode, you were kind of drugged up. You had a lot of painkillers in your system, so you weren't 100%.
I wasn't 100%, so I forgot some stuff.
All right, so fill us in. What else happened?
One of the things that happened is Greg, a listener of ours, met up with me and played some craps with me.
Oh, good. At Caesars?
Yeah, and we'd met Greg before out here at Harrah's, Southern California.
Yeah.
But, and we had a good time. Actually, I think he ended up breaking even. He was down, and then we had a good roll, and he got his money back, and I actually won on every table I played at that trip.
Good.
But, we had a good time. And he has moved to Las Vegas.
Oh, good. So he's there. And that's why he was able to meet up with you.
That's why he was able to meet up. He lives there now. Before he lived, I think, somewhere in the South, right? Atlanta or somewhere.
And then you saw our dealer buddy Ron, right?
Yeah, Ron, who used to deal at Harrah's, Southern California, who now deals at SLS. He was just coincidentally at Caesars.
Oh, really? So he didn't even try to meet up with you. He just was there. You saw him there. Oh.
Actually, my wife saw him.
Oh, okay, good.
Because I was on a table and she came over and she had been doing something. She said, "I think that's your friend Ron at the other table."
Oh, nice.
And sure enough, it was Ron. He was playing craps.
Oh, good.
And it was funny because he said, "Oh, I'll come over." And my table was kind of hot at the time. So I didn't leave. And then, I guess his table wasn't so hot and he went and played some blackjack and we talked a few times. I went over and talked to him, but we never really got to play together.
Yeah.
And, we also, saw Mario, who used to deal at Harrah's Southern California Resort and now deals at, the Cromwell.
Good.
And my wife and I just walked in there and there was one empty table. There's like 4 tables there, right?
Right.
And there was one completely empty table. We walked, there's Mario standing there. So we talked with him for a while.
You didn't play?
No, we didn't play because it was late at night and we were headed up to bed or something, but I wanted to stop in there and it was funny because it was like a $5 table too, late on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
I had one other story from the trip that I forgot to tell. And this one is just interesting. It was at Caesar's Palace. I was playing craps and there's one crew of craps dealers that are on the morning shift. They come on at like 8 a.m. or something, I think, and work till, 2 or 3 or whenever they work till.
Yeah.
And I played with them over the years. So they all know me pretty well. And one of the guys is especially fond of San Diego. Him and his wife vacation here every year, several times a year. And so he always, wants to talk to me about what's going on in San Diego and, this and that and everything. So anyway, he was dealing and him and I were talking and my wife and I were playing and there was one other guy and then this lady walked up and she was from the East Coast. She had an East Coast accent and she knew craps because she bought in for like $1,000 and, she threw her money down. It was a come out and so she made all of her bets, called all of her bets out before, she even got her money.
Okay.
So she knew what she was doing. Anyway, couple of shooters later, somebody made a point, and she had it was a $25 table. She had 25 on the line with 100 odds because it was a 5 or a 9, whatever. So the dealer was still talking to me about, San Diego, and as he was working.
Mm-hmm.
So he paid my wife first, then he paid me. Then she was next. He paid her, and then he paid the guy closest to the stick. And then, he started to, do whatever other stuff he had to do on the layout. And then this woman said to him, "Oh, I don't think you paid my odds."
Okay.
And he said, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, I didn't get paid on my odds." Now this is, after he had already paid another person and was back, resetting the puck and everything.
And it seems kind of unlikely that, you've seen dealers miss a person.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even say. But to miss, when you're paying it out.
Paid their line bet, but didn't pay their odds.
That is strange. Yeah.
After he had just paid me the same amount.
Yeah, right.
Right. So anyway, he kind of looked at her, and then he smiled and he said, "Oh, okay." And, he's a veteran. He's been there for years. Super nice guy. He just paid her the odds.
How much?
150.
150. Okay. Uh-huh.
So he just gave her, a black chip and 2 greens.
Yeah.
And she locked it up. And then he looked at her and he said, because she was real meticulous arranging her chips,
mm-hmm.
but in the middle of her green chips was a black chip. Not the one he just gave her, but a black chip.
Like a black chip from when he really did pay her the first time. When he really did
pay her the first time, right? The 150.
Okay.
And so he pointed it out. He said, "Well, could that have been it?"
Uh-huh.
Because what she did is she picked it up and put it with her green. Because she had all of her black lined up, then she had all of her green.
Okay.
And she had quite a stack of green, but in the middle of her green there was one black chip.
Okay, uh-huh.
And she looked at him and said something like, maybe. And that was it, and then just went on her business well, even if it is, I'm not giving you back the 150 that you just paid me.
And he didn't insist?
And he didn't insist. He kind of looked at me and kind of, raised his eyebrow. And I kind of looked at him thinking, is he going to call the pit over here? And he didn't. He just, okay. And, sure enough, later when she left, she was almost out.
Okay.
So, I wonder if they think, well, she'll lose that back anyway.
Well, maybe that's a typical move for her when she first gets to a table, right?
Right. That's what I was thinking. She was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
And the whole time, my wife and I looked at each other like, oh, she knows she got paid.
Because, it's funny. We talked about on an episode, what would we do if dealers make a mistake?
Right.
If that had been me in that situation, I would have looked and, oh, you're right. This is the original. Here's the bet back.
Right.
You're right. You did pay me.
Especially when he mentioned it.
Yeah, right.
Right. If you said that and he never said anything, even if he saw it, but he didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And whether it was an honest mistake or a not honest mistake. But once he said something, you'd probably just, I think you're right here. Here's the 150 back. But no, she didn't volunteer to give it back or anything.
Okay.
My wife and I found that so fascinating. It's and she was a smooth talker and everything. Okay. So, maybe something she does and maybe not.
Yeah, sure. Maybe not. Sure.
But she wasn't drinking because it was, in the morning.
Yeah.
So she wasn't drunk or anything.
Well, I don't know that in the morning in Las Vegas, it's proof that you haven't been drinking. Right?
Right. Yeah. We've seen some women pretty sloshed at 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, anything else from your trip?
No, I think that was it. It was a great trip.
Yeah.
A very good trip.
Good. So your trip report is now officially finished.
Yep. I think I'm not going to amend that report anymore.
Okay.
It's like taxes. You only get to amend it so many times.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is fine. Yeah. Let's move on.
Yep.
I may think of something else, but forget it.
I'll add it. I'll embellish another trip.
That's right. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, when you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal. Well, we got an email from listener Don, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what he said. He was basically saying that at one of the local casinos by him, he noticed that the layout of one of the craps tables was significantly different. And what caught his eye was that instead of the row of possible point numbers being 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, That row up there had every single number on it except for 7.
So he ran into a Crapless Craps table.
That's exactly what it was, Crapless Craps. And I don't know if we've talked a lot about Crapless Craps on the show before, but basically the game is that on the come-out roll, you'll win if a 7 comes up, and any other number that rolls becomes your point. 2 can be your point. 11 can be your point, right? Any number other than 7 can be your point. So that's why they have on the layout, all the numbers except for 7. You can even buy those numbers or, place those numbers, buy those numbers, right? Make bets against them or against a 7 coming up before one of those numbers. And there's no don't pass or don't come on this table because, how would you do it, right?
There's no.
Right. And Don was asking, is it a good game? Is it worth playing? And, the simple answer is no. The pass line for regular craps is about 1.41%. And the pass line on this Crapless Craps is about 5.38%. So it's significantly higher.
Yeah, right.
And you can think about it this way. When it's the come out roll, well, let me put it this way. The nice thing about Crapless Craps is that 2, 3, and 12, which are automatic losers, are now potential winners. You could re-roll them, and now they're potential winners.
Small potential.
Yeah, they're probably going to lose, but they're potential winners. But here's where they get you. 11, which is an automatic winner in regular craps, is now a likely loser.
Right.
Because you'd have to establish 11, then make 11, roll 11 again to make it as a point.
Yeah. So when you're coming out and that guy rolls 2 11s in a row on the come out, instead of actually making money, that first 11 just becomes your point.
Right.
So, and if he happens to roll a second one in a row, great, you won.
That's great, sure.
But more than likely, he's going to, roll a 7 before he makes another 11.
And you can take odds in Crapless Craps. So, you could take odds on an 11 or odds on a 12 if your point was 12. 12 pays, 6 to 1.
Right.
11 pays 3 to 1.
It's just putting a lot out there.
Yeah. So if you think that's fun, go ahead and play. But if you have a choice, we'd recommend just sticking with the regular
Where did you
craps table.
first see Crapless Craps at?
At Bob Stupak's Vegas World. And I believe he invented it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe he invented it, yeah.
And
because that's where we saw it first.
Right.
We actually played it there.
That property is now the Stratosphere, and I believe they still do have Crapless Craps.
Right. I think.
And then you'll see it spread. Didn't you see it up at Lake Tahoe?
Yeah, right. I saw it at Lake Tahoe, and I can't remember where. It wasn't at the Harrah's there. It was there, Harvey's. It was at Harvey's. They had a table of it, I believe.
Yeah. So, and I think you actually played it because the other tables were too crowded, right? That was the only reason you were doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw it, didn't we see it downtown too somewhere? Vegas, downtown Vegas?
Gosh, maybe. I don't recall. I certainly haven't played it in 20 years.
Yeah. No, I just played it that one time in Lake Tahoe because it was basically the easiest table to get to.
Yeah.
But before that, boy, it was probably Vegas World.
Yep. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our voicemail hotline. Don't forget, give us a call at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
951-2-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your call on the show. Let's go to our first call.
Hey guys, love the show. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm calling from the Los Angeles area. And just want to give you guys a rundown on the scene in Laughlin, since I know you mentioned it a while back on a couple episodes, and just ask you a few questions here at the end. So anyways, just a quick background. I wasn't much of a gambler, but my girlfriend wanted to go to Laughlin for a weekend. Went back in May and had a real good time, won a little cash, and that's really where my interest in craps kind of took off. In fact, I had so much fun that first weekend that we went back for a second weekend, dragging our mom along with us, and I taught them the game of craps, and they actually spent more time with me at the table than they did at the slot machine, which is surprising because that's kind of where her mom lives. So the background there, and we're actually going back this weekend, and this will be our fourth visit in about, 6 to 8 months, something like that. So just to give you a pros and cons rundown, the pros are, from LA, it's about a 4.5 hour drive, and getting there, the drinks were steadily came. They, always fill up and never had to ask for it. The dealers were cool. They appreciated any tips we gave. They didn't hustle. casinos, tables were never crowded. All day, all night, it was $5 minimum at 3, 4, 5 odds, no fire bets, and only double payouts on the 2 and 12 on the fields everywhere I saw. So nothing too crazy, pretty standard layout. And, you know, during the day, in the summertime, there's stuff to do on the river there, and boating, jet skiing, stuff like that. But it's really kind of a dead town other than that. But the last good thing was that we had a lot of quick comps. So I played $300 bankroll, just $5 full odds, lasted me all night, every time we went. And after those 2 weekends when I got back, a couple weeks later in the mail, and every subsequent month since then, just getting 2 free night offers from them. You know, the casino we're at is just sending me this stuff. So it's real big incentive to go there when you got a free place to stay, and it's a fun place to play, drinks come easy, stuff like that. So, yeah, it was cool, a good, cheap, easy getaway for us. The cons are, girlfriend and I are both in our early 30s, so this is a much older crowd, and there's no nightlife, no major restaurants, nothing like that to speak of. So at night, you're pretty much just down at the tables and going to bed whenever you get tired and go to bed, and that's really all there is to do during the day and night is just to gamble there. So it does get a little boring after, the second time that you're there. There's not much to do other than the gambles, and all the hotels there, like I mentioned before, is very dated and old and kind of dingy and real, not a real impressive place to go to, I guess. But the hotel we stayed at was called the Aquarius, and I think that was the best one there by far. And they're part of the Ace Play comp system, which has Arizona Charlie's and the Stratosphere in Vegas. So they were generous with their comps, it seemed like to me, but, it doesn't really take me very far. So I haven't been to Vegas in years, and definitely not playing craps there ever. So looking to try something a little different in the downtown area where we can gamble cheap, have a lot of fun, have a good atmosphere, stuff like that. So my questions are, how quickly do the comps rack up in downtown Vegas at a decent place like, I don't know, Downtown Grand or something, in order to get a free room based on, we'll say that $300 a day bankroll, minimum beds, full odds, stuff like that. Is that a 2 days of playing will get that? 4, 6, 8, trying to figure out, what the break even is, especially if it's a better atmosphere or whatever for us. How much you got to put up front to pay for it in the back end, I guess. Second question is, we'd like to play where we stay, so what's the best combination of atmosphere, hotels, comps, and table odds in downtown for craps? Third question is about you guys. Do you keep track of your wins and losses? Fourth, what's your average length of time at the table casino? You spend hours there or making pretty quick sessions? Fifth, for me, discipline is the hardest thing. Do you guys have any rules of thumb that you follow for walking away from a hot or cold table? I like playing, I like being there, but almost every time I would have kept more, lost less if I walked away early. So any tips on discipline? And finally, never heard you mention this, but I can kind of guess based on what you guys talk about, your bets being what your average bankroll is at the table. Don't have to get into that, of course, but just kind of curious what kind of ammo other people are going in there with, and you guys getting free play and all that other good stuff sounds pretty cool, but obviously not playing for the comps, but just curious what else is out there. So keep up the good work. Thanks, guys.
Okay, good. Thanks for the call. Yeah, this caller actually, we use Google Voice for our voicemail, and there's a 3-minute limit on the voicemail time messages. Yeah. So he just called back to leave his full message, and then I just, spliced them together. But yeah, I haven't found any way to increase that 3-minute time limit. So if anybody calls in, you get cut off, just call back. Laughlin, it's funny. It's been about 15 years since I've been to Laughlin.
Yeah. Well, I was there last time with you.
Really? Oh, really? I've actually been there since then. I was there with my dad. We were kind of driving through.
Oh, you passed through.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, no, I don't know that I've been. My brother and mom and dad have been recently, and several times.
It's funny because we have talked about how, we have no desire to go there, but maybe we should, because we really pretty much only like to gamble.
Right. The drive time's the same, virtually
the same. It's about 15 minutes. If you're driving from Southern California, it's about a 15-minute longer drive to go to Laughlin. So it's kind of negligible. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But for us, it's funny because my dad, who's, almost 90, he didn't like it that much because it wasn't exciting enough for him, right?
That's right.
And I'm like, well, all you do is gamble. But his thing was at a certain point, a lot of people went to bed and there weren't enough people on the tables. He likes to see full tables.
Yeah, that's true. The
excitement.
It can be a little depressing to be in an empty casino.
But it's funny because you and I are the opposite. We would love just like an empty table.
I
just
know.
The two
I
of
love,
us, right?
just play. Yeah.
or a couple of people. We just like it to go fast.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's a full table, things slow down substantially, and if the rolls aren't good, it really gets on your nerves.
Yeah.
You can put up with it when someone's on a hot roll. But, we like to go and just boom, boom, boom. Roll,
exactly.
roll.
Yeah. But he does make good points. I mean, there's not much else to do there. There is the river during the summer.
In the summer, if you're into like jet skiing and stuff, it's perfect because you can do that all day and then gamble at night.
But I mean, there's so much more in Vegas. And here's the other thing too. If you're flying, it's much easier to get to Vegas than to Laughlin.
Much easier.
Even from here.
My brother and a friend of his, Cheryl, they've gone several times to see shows in Laughlin with somebody they want to see is playing. And they go and, they get free airfare from LA to Laughlin.
We've gotten offers from Caesars Entertainment.
So you can get a lot of free airfare.
Yeah.
And you just fly there and, they see the show and they gamble all weekend. They fly back, Sunday night.
Yeah.
So depending on who's there. Now, a lot of the acts are geared towards older people. Like they've gone to see country western stars.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see, Britney Spears in Laughlin.
Probably not. Maybe someday.
Maybe.
I'll go see her someday. Yeah.
She gets
40
old
years. Yeah. But let's jump to some of these questions. So if talking about downtown, how long would you need to play to get a comped room? Now, if he's talking about like a $300 bankroll and betting $5, I guess it would depend on the property. Now, let's mention a few of them. I know that Downtown Grand has a pretty good deal for new players. Right? We signed up there. So if he was there just a couple of days, there's no question he would earn a free room. Maybe not for the trip that he was on. Although who knows, you could ask,
you're right?
Because we played there maybe an hour and a half, if that.
And we got a free room.
Well, you got a free room.
Yeah.
I was close to getting a free room, and I was playing exactly like that, about a $300 bankroll, $5 base bet, right? So I would say at least if you're talking about, signing up for the Players Club for the first time, Downtown Grand is a good option.
And I'll mention this real quick. I think any of the casinos downtown, if you go regular enough, no matter what your bankroll is, like if you were there and then let's say you didn't get a free room offer, but within a couple months you went again and you used your player's card, you'll get a free room offer.
I think you're right. I think more so than strip casinos.
Way more than
you're going to get more offers. Yeah, I agree with you there.
If you're there, let's say in a 6-month period you had gone 3 times, I guarantee you're going to get room offers.
And we have talked about how aggressive Golden Nugget is in their promotions too, because you and I played there a few years back for about an hour.
Yeah.
Right? About an hour. And for the next 2 years, we were constantly getting free room offers. Even me.
Yeah.
Again, just betting that $5.
Well, we should preface that by saying that we did years ago go there quite a bit. And I don't know if we were still in their database.
Oh, we were not. We had to sign up again. It was a whole, no. This was new.
New thing.
Yeah. And this kind of gets to his next question too. Where's the best place to stay and gamble? I think most people will agree the nicest property downtown is Golden Nugget. So I'd probably recommend that. They have and if you are going to play craps, they have a lot of tables. It's usually easy to find a $5 minimum table, even when it's busy, and certainly when they're not busy, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So I would have to recommend that. Another property I would recommend is Main Street Station. We haven't been in there for a long time, but I know the guys over at the Vice Lounge Online podcast. I think Tony, he's going to be staying, he might even be there right now, staying at Main Street Station. I hear only good things about it. They've got 20 times odds on craps.
Right, I like the 20 times odds.
So I would at least say those 3 maybe, Downtown Grand, Golden Nugget, Main Street Station. Yeah. But you make a good point.
What about the D?
Yeah, I guess the D, I'm not sure.
The D's kind of a younger crowd.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're like early 30s, right? You might really like the D.
Yeah, maybe the D. I haven't gotten a lot of offers for the amount of time we played there.
Yeah, we played there a bit, and I haven't got one offer.
Yeah, I get some flyers, so I don't know how they are on the comps, to be honest with you. Yeah. Okay, next question. Do we keep track of wins and losses? I always have.
You always have. I off and on have.
Yeah.
The last few years I have not.
Yeah.
But I promised myself this year I was going to.
And you're gonna actually write it in a journal, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep a journal this year because there were some wins last year that I'm paying taxes on.
Yeah,
and I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, but I always have. I'm kind of meticulous that way, so I'm kind of anal that way.
Right?
Excuse my French.
It's one of those things where it's actually a good thing, and I would recommend everybody do that.
Yeah,
but it's kind of a hard thing to do too. Because, you have to look back at that when you're lost and write that down. It's like, oh, I'd rather just put that out of my mind.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's not a bad thing either. You see your loss and you think, okay, I got to slow down or I got to, do something different or, or not go.
Right. Next question. How long are our sessions at the table? I would say very long. Yeah. We don't tend to, hit and run. If we're at a table, unless it's going just terrible and we're losing money like crazy.
Right.
We'll stay at a table quite a long time, hours.
Well, especially here at Harris.
Well, sure,
California.
we're trapped here, but
we have nowhere else to go, really. I mean, there's other places, but this is where we prefer.
But even
so, we won't
Vegas.
even switch tables. I mean, we'll get on a table, and it's like, okay, let's just hang out here.
Yeah.
It'll turn around.
But even in Las Vegas, we won't. Gosh, I can think of plenty of times we just spent at the same table.
Right? Yeah, it's been 5 or 6, 7 hours, and we're still at the same table.
Yeah. So that's our style. We're not recommending that over, quick hit and run. But
although years ago, Doug Morgan and I, you remember Doug Morgan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Him and I made a trip to Vegas.
I think you've mentioned this on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. And we would go, and when we didn't have a lot of money then. Our bankroll was like $200.
Yeah.
But when we got that to like $350, $400, we left. And some of them were quick. I mean, we hit a good roll. Second shooter was good. We doubled our money. We left. And we moved around a lot that trip, and it worked out well.
Yeah, good. And there was that trip that we took together too, where we were just trying to go to as many casinos as we did. We said, okay, only a half hour, we move on. But for the most part, we stay there a lot. What's our bankroll at the table? Well, I can just say, at least for me, I don't know if you want to even answer this question, but I'm kind of like this listener. It's basically $300 at a $5 table.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll play.
$5.
Sometimes I'll buy in for $5. Well, lately we've been playing at $10 table, so I'll buy in for $5.
Yeah.
But that's typically right. $5 table, buy in for $300. And, things go poorly. That can go quickly.
Right.
But generally you can play with that for a while.
And I usually play quarters. So, my bankroll has to be around 2,000.
Yeah. Well, and you're playing a lot more aggressively too on the table. Yeah.
Right. And it can go quick. And then, then there's the second buy-in.
Yeah. That's right.
I hate to get to that point. And lately, thank God it hasn't come to that very often. But I don't have a top limit.
Yeah.
And I don't think you do either, other than, well, I can't get any more money or I don't have any more.
Yeah.
And we'll borrow from each other.
Yes.
I need 100 and give me 100 and that, and we pay it right back.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one more question. I think I may have even forgotten to put it in the notes here. He was asking, how do you discipline yourself to walk away from a table? Right. This is probably the hardest question. Yeah. Because you're there, you want to play. Do you leave when it's going really bad? Well, sometimes you have to because you're out of money.
Right.
Do you leave when it's good, after a hot roll, or, do you stay too long and lose it all back? I'll tell you, if you really want to limit yourself, I think it helps to have some kind of external help.
Right.
Like say
time, just your buddy, like we got to leave at 11.
Right. Or, I'm meeting you at the restaurant. We have reservations at 8:00, just something hard and fast. Because honestly, the only advice we can give is just, get discipline yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I got two things to say about that. There's two ways to do that. You can do it with time, and that's probably your best bet.
Yeah.
You can do it with money and say, well, when I'm out of this 300, I'm done.
Yeah.
But, what if you don't run out of the 300? The thing that works good for us, and we've done this to a fair extent, after we have a real hot roll, I mean a real hot roll.
Yeah.
Where, maybe, made $4,000 or something, we'll stay for a shooter or two more.
Yes.
Just to see if it, if this the magic table where we get 2 back-to-back hot rolls.
Yeah.
But we get a couple of bad ones and we drop a few $100 and we leave.
Yeah.
And we have been very consistent over the years at doing that.
And I'll tell you, try it just once. Just say to yourself, next time there's a hot roll, maybe just leave right after the hot roll.
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of people do that.
Walk away. And I'll tell you, 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, you're thinking, this is great. Yeah. I love basking in the glow of this win.
Because initially your thought is, I'm an idiot for leaving this good table. But
I want to play.
15 minutes later, you're like, oh, I am so smart.
Yeah. You feel so good about yourself.
Because you left at your high point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And, who knows what your high point is. For people who've listened a long time ago, we mentioned one of our friends, Stan, who said, well, just leave when you're up.
Yeah, you're always up at one point. That's what he said, Stan. You're always up at one point. Just leave when you're up.
So, you make that first line bet and the guy rolls a 7. What, you should just leave?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. I'm up $10. Color me up.
I'm going to that table over there. We typically, though, for us, I think this is very true. We usually, when it gets going bad, we do leave and we'll walk to another casino.
Yes.
Or we'll walk to another table if we're just at the one casino. Or we'll take a quick break and grab a bite to eat or something and then come back.
If it's bad.
It's not very long.
But if it's bad, though, I like taking a more significant break, like going to another casino or getting something to eat to kind of clear your head, because you could go on tilt and get too aggressive and then, suddenly it made matters worse.
That's a good analogy. Yeah. It's kind of like being at a poker table and having a bad beat.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to get up and walk around or go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or just sit out the next hand.
Yeah.
And, get yourself back calm.
Yep.
Because that can happen at, you can be playing blackjack and all of a sudden you're down $500 and, then I'm going to bet a $500 bet.
Yes, right.
Get back to
Try to get back to
which I don't suggest you do.
I've seen you do it.
Yeah, you've seen me do it. But then you're down 1,000 and you're thinking, now I need to bet $1,000.
Yep, that's right. It spirals out of control. Good. All right. Thanks for the call. All right. Let's hear from Dr. Taylor.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Dr. Taylor from New Mexico. Didn't want you to think that I forgot about you guys. Still enjoying your podcast. Just don't call in because I fucking hate my own voice. But, only call in when when I'm drunk. Anyway, just walking out of California after a drunk meal and walking back to downtown Grand. Just wanted to let you know I'm in Vegas. My parents were with me and I just dropped them off a few hours ago. My mom shot craps for the first time yesterday morning. We had breakfast downtown, and then I was like, why don't you shoot some craps? And there was an empty table at Golden Gate, so I had her buy-in for $50 and throw some dice. So she 7'd out twice very quickly. So I was feeling bad. I wanted her to win the first time she threw some dice. And then she went on to make 3 points in a row. And so we bought it for $50. She won 15. Well, after she made 3 points, I wanted her to stop while she was ahead. So I actually had the place bet pulled back, and then she 7'd out. Anyway, she made $15 after she started with 50, and she was so happy about that. It was so cute. I didn't have the heart to tell her how much I gamble usually. Anyway, here's a question for you. My girlfriend's flying in tomorrow, and we're gonna drive back together. She's never shot craps either. So I think we kind of talked about this, how Dr. Mike would usually bet more if he knew someone was shooting for the first time. But how aggressively would you bet if you knew a girl was shooting craps for the first time? So anyway, love your podcast. Don't think that I've forgotten about you guys. Glad your surgery went well, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys sometime in the future. All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Well, it sounds like Dr. Taylor was having a pretty good time.
Sounded like he was in a good mood, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that. It's funny when he talks about like virgin shooters. If I know somebody is their first time at a craps table, I do like to bet on them. I know it makes no sense at all.
Yeah, and I want to make that clear to our listeners that both of us know there's no logical reason why a shooter, doing it for the first time would be better.
A lot of times they're You know, I mean, I've seen it where the guy's never shot before. He picks the dice up and has an immediate out.
Sure.
But a lot of times they do shoot well. And I think it's partly because, you know, I don't know, some karma in the world where, you know, first time, you know, they win.
No. But I need to maintain my reputation as being the more level-headed one on this podcast.
Yeah, you're the level-headed one. You can disagree with that. I fully accept that. But I do like to increase my bet. And
so what do you do?
You know what I do?
Okay.
I just press quicker.
Press quicker? So do you start with more?
No, I usually, you know, because I'm already putting 25 on the line.
Okay.
So I usually keep the 25 line bet. But on my place bets, I just, you know, immediately press them. Okay. I don't collect any. Okay. I just press.
You're hoping it's going to be a big
hand. I'm hoping it's going to be a long roll.
Yeah.
And if it is, you know, you get them up there quick and pretty soon your $30 six is $150 six.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go from there. But, yeah, so that's kind of how I approach that. And, you know, it doesn't really matter girl or guy. If somebody just seems like they've never done this before, I bet on them.
Okay. Well, Taylor actually called back and let us know how his girlfriend did. So let's listen.
All right.
Hi, Dr. Mike and Mark. Taylor from New Mexico calling in. Don't laugh. Yeah, so I had my girlfriend just had her shoot the cross for the first time. And she made 5 points in a row. And yeah, just the whole table. Some guy bet a $200 buy on a 10, and she just rolled a 10, and he's like, I'm gonna tip you. So he gave us a green chip at the end, and I think she made 3 8s and 2 9s, so no fire bet, but it was. And then I was like, you just made 5 points. And she's like, what does that mean? So just wanted to give you an update. All right, we're gonna go back and play some more. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Well, that's great.
I guess that's empirical proof that, virgin shooters really are going to be good shooters. All right.
I hope they didn't go back and lose it because we didn't hear anything.
We didn't hear anything after, no.
But I hope that things still went well. You know, what's funny about that is her asking, is that good? I made 5 points.
Yeah, you did okay. You should have man, I've seen better.
Right. We've been at better tables. I wanted to mention real quick, he was talking about his mom playing.
Yeah.
And Mark knows this. When my mom goes with us, she makes a pass line bet and she takes single odds.
Yep.
And she'll place either the 6 or the 8.
Yeah, usually just one.
Just one of the two. Yeah. And that's what she does. And I swear to God, more often than not, she wins.
Well, I mean, do as we say, not as we do.
I know.
Right?
And so that's my advice to people out there. If you can sit there and just do that.
Yep.
And have fun. She enjoys it.
Oh, yeah.
She enjoys watching all the other stuff.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want to put that much money out there, but she'll go and she'll win a couple $100 every time. Yeah. I mean, it seems like very seldom does she have a real bad session.
Yeah.
And, it makes sense, right? She's making good bets.
Yeah.
And not a lot of them. She's not getting a lot of money out there. Yeah. If somebody happens to get stuck like Taylor's girlfriend and roll 3 8s, she's made a good substantial amount of money. And that kind of makes up for those bad rolls.
Yeah.
So,
right, sure.
That'd be my advice to any new shooter, right?
Yeah.
Do that.
That's good. All right. One more call. Let's hear from Dave.
Hi, Mike. Dr. Mark. Or do I have that the other way around? Sorry. Love your show. I just wanted to comment on something you talked about on this week's show, or maybe it was this week's bonus audio. You talked about how Blackjack has changed with the 6-5 and the $1 plus a quarter game. And then you talked about how Craps more or less hasn't changed. And I just want to remind everybody that there is something called downtown odds and strip odds, which is basically the payouts on all the junk in the middle is different at various casinos. So there are ways that the casinos could play with those numbers and make things a little bit different, and people should be aware of it. Well, you should. Keep up the good work. Bye.
I think the first thing we should mention is that, no, Mark, you are not a doctor.
No.
You're kind of the Howard Wolowitz of this group.
Thank you. I guess.
But more level-headed than Howard.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm happy with that.
Well, you're more level-headed.
All right, well, I'm not a doctor. Wolowitz is more level-headed?
No, you're more level-headed than Howard
Wolowitz. Oh, well, thank you. All right. Okay.
And you're not an attorney.
No.
Or an accountant or a CPA.
None of those things. Do I even work? Do I have a job? What's my craft? Well, yeah. Thanks, Dave, for the call. We on the bonus audio for our last episode, we did talk about how a lot of rules for casino games have gotten worse. but not craps. And I still think that's true, but Dave brings up a good point.
Right.
And it got us thinking about, we came up with 4 major differences that you can find on craps tables, the layouts, the games.
Right.
And here's what we came up with. The biggest difference from game to game is how much they let you bet on free odds.
And that's actually gotten better, not worse.
Exactly. That's what we talked about. Since certainly when we first started going to Vegas, when it was only double odds.
Everywhere was double odds.
Yeah. So, the Strip is pretty much 3, 4, 5 times odds. Atlantic City is 10 times odds. There are places in Vegas where you can find 10 times odds, 20 times odds. So that's one major difference that you can find.
A lot of 5 times odds. Even here in San Diego.
You can get 5 times. Yep.
There's a casino that has 5 times odds.
The second thing is what Dave brought up, this idea of downtown odds versus Strip odds. And what that refers to is basically how much they will pay on hop bets or on 11 or 12. Those prop bets that are in the middle of the table. Basically, an 11 for what they call downtown odds, an 11 will pay 30 to 1.
Right.
And Strip odds, it pays 29 to 1
for a 12.
Yeah, did I say 11?
You said 11. It's 11's 15 for 1.
Yeah, sorry, you're right.
And 15 to
1. Okay, yeah. So thank you for catching that, because I started going, on a 12, downtown odds 30 to 1, Strip odds 29 to 1. And what they do is 29 to 1 is the same as 34 1.
Right.
So you may still see a 30 out on the layout, but if it's 34 1, that's a worse payout than 32 1.
Right, exactly.
And
they take your 1.
Yeah, right. They take your 1. And here's the thing. Number one, they're called downtown and Strip odds because typically you'd see the better odds downtown and the worst ones on the Strip. But, there are downtown odds on the Strip and Strip odds downtown. So you have to kind of check.
By the same company.
Yep.
Same company will have 2 casinos with different odds.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Now let's keep in mind though that these are still terrible bets, right? Even if it's 30 to 1 versus 34 1. That's terrible, right? So, shy away from that. And then like you were talking about with 11, any hot bet where the dice are not a pair, it pays 15 to 1 or 15 for 1. So, the better payout is 15 to 1. Okay. The third difference that you see on craps tables is what the 2 or 12 pays in the field. Most, I don't even know if I can say most, but
the majority of them, I do think it's 2 times for a 2 and 3 times for a 12.
Right. Or vice versa. At least one of those numbers pays triple if it comes up.
Right.
But you will see a lot of casinos where it's just double on the 2 and the 12.
Right.
So hopefully, and again, field's still not a good bet, but you want to find the table where they'll pay triple.
Yeah. And remember where, our friend Jeff talked about the layout that they had where it didn't even pay double.
It paid 3 to 2.
3 to 2.
You still can't figure that one out. Yeah. And then finally, the fourth difference that you can find on the table is the VIG. When you make a buy bet or a lay bet, do they collect the VIG right up front when you make the bet or only when you win? You want to find the table where they pay only when you win. You only have to pay the VIG when you win.
It's going to save you a substantial amount of money, especially if you're, buying the 4 and 10 regularly.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Are we done?
Most of those things we should bring up, most of those things have actually increased for the player over time.
Yes. Well, again, paying
whereas most other games have actually just gotten worse and worse and worse.
Right. In the olden days, you paid the VIG up front every time. There wasn't a casino in the world, where you could only pay the VIG on. So it's still, so I still stand by that. Craps has gotten better, whereas some other games have gotten worse. Certainly Blackjack.
We had a conversation with one of the dealers out at Harris Rincon, Graham, just this last weekend, and we were talking about 6 to 5 Blackjack, remember?
Yeah.
And his comment was, well, people are going to go play it.
People still playing it. We see it constantly.
And we said, well, if nobody played it, they'd get rid of it. And he said, they're going to play it. Yeah. They don't know any better.
Yep. It's a losing battle. Okay. We're done with craps?
Yep.
All right. No more craps talk this episode. Let's move on to a blackjack variant called Blackjack Switch. This is kind of a carnival casino game based on blackjack that allows you to play 2 hands and switch cards to make the hands better. So let's talk about how this is played. First of all, as a player, you make 2 initial bets because you're going to be dealt 2 hands, right? Then the dealer deals all the cards out. And everything's face up, so you can see. Once you've gotten your hands, you can, if you want, switch the second card that was dealt to each hand. You can switch those between your two hands. You can't switch any two cards.
Right. See, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
It's only the second card that was dealt.
Right.
So it's not like you can pick all four and make the two best possible hands.
That's right.
Because that would be a good game.
Right. And so we'll talk about how this kind of works. But basically, if you want to, you can switch the cards. So an example would be, let's say on one hand you were dealt a 10 and a 6, 6 being your second card.
Right.
And on the next hand, you were dealt a 5 and a 10. Right. As your second card. So you've got a 15 and a 16. Well, you want to switch that 6 and that 10.
Right.
So
you'd have a 20 and an 11.
Yeah. You'd have a hard 20 in one hand and then an 11 that you could double down on in the other hand.
Right.
Now, let's say you were dealt a 10 and a 5 and then a 10 and a 6. Well, now the 5 and the 6 are the second cards. Well, if you switch those, there's no change, right? So there's no reason to do it. There's no fee for switching it. It's just up to you whether you want to do it or not.
Right.
So how does a casino make the money if they allow you to do this? Well, there are a couple rules that help it put the game back so that they have an edge. Number one, a winning player blackjack pays even money.
Yeah.
Not even terrible. 6 to 5, just even money. And here's the big one. And we talked about how this was also true in the game, free bet blackjack. If the dealer busts with exactly 22, everybody who still has a hand, they just push.
Right.
Even if you've hit all the way up to 21.
So they've already got the losers who busted anyway.
Yes.
And then they bust, but they don't have to pay anybody.
Right. That's if they hit up to 22.
Right.
So that is how
that's a
they
huge
make their money.
advantage.
Sure, of course.
Really,
and that's how they do it. It can be a fun game, right? You could have two terrible hands, like in the example we gave, where you switch and suddenly you've got a good hand.
Right. What do you think is going to happen more often than not? I think just intuitively, I would think more often than not, it's not going to make that much difference.
Right. Especially since it's only that second card.
Right.
And
if it was the first card, or
any card,
it would be great.
Yeah.
But just because it's that second card, I just intuitively think a lot of times it's really not going to matter that much.
Yeah. Now, usually when we talk about these carnival games, we tell you at least a very simple basic strategy on how to play. But this is just way too complicated because not only do you have to memorize when you want to make that switch, you have to memorize a whole new basic strategy because, again, you're not playing regular blackjack rules. Right. You have to account for this 22 as being a push and, the blackjack paying even money. So it's so complicated. We're not even going to talk about it. Instead, I'll put a link to the show notes to the Wizard of Odds website. He does an analysis of everything. And, even on his site, you're going to go through it and think, this might be too complicated to even bother with. But it is a fun game in that you're doing something that you kind of always wish you could do. Right. Switch the cards around. I think that's what they're
preying on is that you'll think, I can switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, one thing we should go over too, you have to make two bets.
Right. I mentioned that at the beginning, but yes, they have to be an equal amount. That's true.
So if it's a $10 table, you're putting $20 out there.
Yes, that's true.
So if your bankroll is such that, you want to play $5 blackjack, well, you're not really playing $5 blackjack. No. You're paying $10 blackjack. Well,
even if it's a $5 table, you're not playing $5 blackjack.
Right, exactly. Right? That's what I mean. You're playing $10 blackjack at a $5 table.
Yeah.
So, you have to think about your bankroll a little bit in that scenario.
Yeah. And I won't swear to this, but I think that, you will find that casinos will have lower minimums on some of these carnival games just to take that into account, because people are putting out more money than just a single blackjack bet.
How often have you seen this played in a casino?
They have it in quite a few places in Las Vegas. Here locally, I haven't seen it very much.
Yeah.
But I would say it's probably more popular than the free bet blackjack that we talked about on a previous episode.
Yeah, what about Spanish 21?
Oh, Spanish 21's, I'd say, way more than Switch blackjack. I think there's many more Spanish 21 tables. But again, I'm just going based on experience rather than knowing any figures.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, around here, smaller casinos here and less competition, so they stick to more of the routine games, I guess, you know. They don't want to have a table and two people playing it.
Yeah, right.
They'd rather have a $5 blackjack table and have it full.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, be sure to download our app for your mobile device. You'll get access to all our episodes, quick links to contact us via Twitter, Facebook, email, and our voicemail hotline. And you'll get bonus audio. On the bonus audio for this episode, we talk about celebrities that we've seen or actually played with in Las Vegas and other gambling locales. With our app, you'll also get TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. The bonus audio and the TV listings are only available on our app. To download it, go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and on the left-hand side of the page, click on the link that says How to Download Our App. We have a link for Android devices and another one for iPhones and iPads. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. I haven't been tweeting lately because I knew your back was hurting you so bad. I wasn't sure you'd be a good ambassador for the podcast if you ran into a listener. So
yeah, it might not look too good.
Yeah, but we are going to start tweeting again. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review for us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners.
I'm laughing because it's not like we haven't been going.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You just haven't been tweeting.
That's right.
Even with a bad back, I've still been going. The first few times, I can't bend at all.
Yeah.
So Mark's been picking my bets up off the table and putting them in my rack.
I'm his helper.
Yeah, and I've just been calling out what I want to do. So it's not like it's slowed this down all that much.
No, just haven't tweeted.
And I hope that this weekend we can continue on our little mini win streak that we've had.
It's great.
Because I love Saturday morning texting you and you saying that you're basking in the glow of another win.
Well, what's funny is that you've got this streak going, but when I have gone by myself, I've lost.
Yeah, right.
So,
it's just you and I together.
Yeah, I need to continue. But see, you've been without me.
Right.
And you've won.
And
so it's not both of us together. It's just you.
It may just be me.
So I need to make sure you're with me the next time.
Yeah. Well, I usually guarantee you'll win when I know you're going to win.
Good. He has. He's guaranteed to win the last 3 times, and it's happened.
It's happened.
It makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. Not that you believe in that or anything.
No, of course not. No. All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.